Hello, beautiful humans. I'm Gemma Drone. I'm going to try this again. The computer cut out in the middle of my last go with this. So if it cuts out again, oh well, I guess it's not meant to be tonight. So what we're talking about tonight is surrender and letting go. And this comes into play when we have moments, and we've all had them. Maybe you're going through them right now, where you just get almost feels like you're being attacked by your negative emotions, your obsessive thoughts, in reaction to something that may have happened in your reality that you have crazy resistance to, something that you just don't want in your life, you don't want to have to deal with, or maybe it's something from the past that is coming up for you. And it's kind of taken over your mind, taken over your body. You can't think about anything else. It makes you feel anxious. And you are just caught in this incessant loop of beating yourself up with your thoughts and going round and round in circles. And maybe you thought you had gotten past this sort of thinking, and that you didn't weren't victim to this anymore, and then something triggered it and it came back. And that can be especially frustrating, and especially to feel defeating to us. And then somebody may say, maybe talking to someone about it, and they may say, well, you just need to surrender to what's happening. You just need to let go of the past. And usually our reaction is, well, that sounds great, but how the hell do I do that? Because when we're caught in these cycles of thought and these cycles of emotion, it can feel just impossible to let go. It can feel possible to surrender to what's happening because we don't like what's happening. So why should we surrender to it? And that is the pattern of addictive thinking. It's the mind that's trying to outwit the mind. And so basically, we're just arguing with ourselves, arguing with our ego, and we can't fight the mind with the mind. It just doesn't work that way. And so surrendering really means just letting the mind do its thing and not fighting it, not trying to outthink it, and just moving into the present moment. And so you're taking yourself out of the equation. You're saying, okay, I'm just going to let the mind do its thing. I'm going to let it be a bit crazy, and I'm not going to fight it. And I'm just going to move into the present moment. So the only thing we can ever surrender to is surrendering to this moment right now, surrendering to the flow of life. And when we do that, when we stop fighting what's happening, we surrender to the flow of life, then we find ourselves moving forward, and we're able to move through whatever we're experiencing at that moment a lot faster than if we were to just stand there and fight and try to get these thoughts to stop, try to change what's happening, because we can't change what's happening so often. And so we have to accept it and move through it, and um, let ourselves breathe for a minute and stop fighting what's going on. And it applies directly to past events that we've held on to, that we're clinging to, that are really stored in our body and then gets triggered. And then the emotions come up and the thoughts come up, and we try to figure out how we could have done it differently and how we can change things. And then we're out of the present moment yet again. And we're back in the past. We're victims of the past. It wasn't fun the first time. And so why do we keep creating it over and over and over again? Because we haven't figured out how to let go of it. We haven't figured out how to change that pattern. And the only way to really change it is to move into that present moment and to choose different feelings, choose different thoughts, choose different emotions. And you may have to do this over and over again. It can take a very strong intention where we let it go, it comes back. We let it go again, it comes back. And eventually, that time in between it coming back gets longer and longer and longer again. And letting go is actually the ultimate act of self love. When we free ourselves from the past, from those thoughts that kept us captive, from those emotions that have held us down for so long, when we can let go of those and free ourselves from them, that is showing so much love to ourselves and so much respect. Because so often we hold on to those past things because we feel like we deserve them in some way. We feel like we're not deserving of being free of them. We're not deserving of the amount of love that it would take to let go of them. And so, if we can see that for the reality that it is, and we can honor ourselves and step into a whole new way of loving ourselves, then we are able to let go of that past. And I wanted to share a quick little story. For me, when I learned about letting go, there was a day many years ago where I was doing chores around my house. I was totally stuck in my head and stuck in thoughts of the past and heavy emotions connected with them, and not really paying attention to what I was doing. And I walked outside to take the compost out, and as soon as I walked out, there was a red tail hawk that was up on the telephone pole that was often there, and he just started squawking at me as soon as I walked out. And so I stopped and I looked up and was wondering, what he was trying to tell me. And after a moment or two, he flew down right in front of me and swooped down and then flew off. And about 10 feet away, he dropped a feather. And I got really excited about this gift. I thought it was really cool. And as I walked over to pick it up, I was envisioning like the perfect red tail feather, that was waiting for me. But when I picked it up, I realized it was just an old feather, probably a wing feather. It had some pieces missing out of it. And at that moment, I realized his message was really clear. It was just drop it. He didn't think about dropping the feather. He didn't decide which one to drop. He just dropped it, and he never looked back. And so when I applied that to what I was carrying with me that day and had been carrying around with me for several years, I just kept telling myself, just drop it. And I would drop it, and then my mind would pick it up again. And then I would drop it again until finally my mind stopped picking it up. And so I hope that that is helpful for you guys, that you're able to surrender to the flow of life and free yourself from all the negative thinking that may be holding you captive. So sending you lots and lots of love on this beautiful Valentine's Day night, and hoping that you just love yourself enough to free yourself from the past and from those heavy emotions. And if you are looking for guidance, if you feel called to work with me at all, please send me a private message and we can talk about the ways that I work with clients. Okay, sending love, and I will see you all in the Facebook group. Have a great night.